When data scientist Swadeshi Dixit was invited to speak on the life of Dr. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, he realized his understanding was incomplete. To prepare, he analyzed two vastly different perspectives, a dense historical biography and a classic Amar Chitrakatha comic, reading both cover to reconstruct Savarkar's journey. The historical records reveal a life governed by a single, uncompromising objective: the systematic organization of an armed revolution. This historical reality often sits in the shadow of the intense modern political debate surrounding his name. To understand his true impact, we have to look past modern labels and return to the physical origin of his crusade, a small room in the village of Bhagur. In the late 1890s, the British execution of the Chapekar brothers served as a radicalizing force for the young Savarkar. Witnessing the colonial response to the plague and the subsequent hangings of these revolutionaries shifted his focus toward militant nationalism. At just 14 years old, he stood before the six-armed idol of Ashtabhuja Mata in his childhood home. He took a formal oath to dedicate his life to the armed independence of his country. He vowed to fight until he either died in battle or achieved a sovereign state modeled after the Maratha Empire of Shivaji Maharaj. That teenage promise functioned as a rigid psychological anchor for the rest of his life. From that moment on, every decision, his education, his writing, and his international travels, was a calculated step toward fulfilling the literal terms of that oath. By 1902, Savarkar moved his operations to room 17 of Hostel No. 1 at Fergusson College in Pune. This room became the birthplace of the Mitra Mela, a secret society of student revolutionaries that would eventually grow into the Abhinav Bharat organization. He used his position at the college to coordinate the first major public act of defiance in the region, a massive bonfire of foreign-made clothes. It was a tactical escalation of the Swadeshi movement, using the spectacle to challenge British economic control. The college administration responded by expelling Savarkar and imposing a heavy fine. However, the move backfired. The influential leader Lokmanya Tilak published a scathing defense of Savarkar in his newspaper, Kesari, titled "He is not our Bhagur," criticizing the principal's collaboration with colonial authorities. This expulsion served as a formal graduation into the revolutionary underground. Savarkar was no longer just a student organizer. He was now a primary target of the British Raj. In 1906, Savarkar secured a scholarship to study law in London. He used the opportunity to move his headquarters to the heart of the British Empire, establishing a base where he could operate beyond the reach of the Indian police. He turned India House, a North London hostel, into a global hub for sedition and a high-functioning revolutionary headquarters. From here, he managed a complex operation, translating guerrilla warfare manuals, authoring his band history, and organizing shooting practice for Indian students. The logistical success of this network was demonstrated when Savarkar's associates successfully smuggled Browning pistols from the European continent back into India, directly arming local revolutionary cells. The tension peaked in 1909 when an India House member assassinated Sir Curzon Wyllie in London. Scotland Yard's subsequent investigation identified Savarkar as the mastermind, leading to his arrest and deportation in 1910. The discovery of the India House network revealed a sophisticated transcontinental pipeline of weaponry and propaganda. It proved that the movement for Indian independence had evolved into a coordinated global threat to colonial rule. After his arrest and a high-profile escape attempt at Marseille, the British deported Savarkar to the Andaman Islands to serve 2 consecutive life sentences in the Cellular Jail, often referred to as Pani. The jail's architectural design ensured total isolation. The wings radiated from a central tower so that every cell faced the back of another, making it impossible for prisoners to see or communicate with one another. Savarkar was subjected to the most grueling forms of manual labor, including being yoked to a heavy oil mill like cattle. For 10 years, he lived in solitary confinement, extracting coconut oil under the threat of the gallows. The cellular jail combined physical torture with absolute sensory deprivation. Through the system of total erasure, the British aimed to dismantle the physical health and the political influence of revolutionary leadership. Even in isolation, the groundwork Savarkar laid continued to spread. His specific focus on the British Indian Army, seen here in formation, aimed to turn the empire's primary instrument of control against itself. The methodology developed at India House, international alliances and military subversion, became a recurring strategy for the next generation of revolutionaries. Years later, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose would utilize these same global channels to challenge the Raj. For Subhash Dixit, the historical record points to a man driven by the granular execution of a childhood oath. His life is the story of a lifelong commitment to the violent dismantling of colonial power. The distance between a 14-year-old's vow in Nashik and the oil mills of the Andamans measures the extreme personal toll of that commitment. It remains a stark illustration of the physical and psychological price extracted from those who chose the path of armed resistance. For more on the stories and data behind India's history, visit Subhash Dixit's blog.